Greetings, 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 and welcome to our addition to this live mini masterclass where I bring only the best of them through into my genius zone. And today I've got a really special treat because I've got a beautiful lady who is backstage waiting to come on board and really share some juicy gold nuggets. If you love to be able to go into that blissful state of yoga, meditation, then you are going to love this. This lady, Rebekah, she is an international certified life coach and also a yoga instructor. So she will be able to bring lots of gold nuggets to this space. And I just ask you to grab yourself a drink. In my case, it's coffee, and sit back, relax, and enjoy. Hi, Rebekah. How are you?
Hey, Mary. I have my water here, so I'm good to go.
Oh, and I have my coffee, so I'm even more good to go energetically. I have 2 cups of coffee every single day, and it used to be 6, but I'm a convert, so all good. But water, definitely better. So, Rebekah, where are you?
I live on the Sunshine Coast in Paradise.
Oh, my favorite place. I went up there and visited with my husband a few years ago before the borders decided to rudely lock down on us. What a glorious place and space. So especially for your work. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to really, obviously you're an international certified coach, and you're also a yoga instructor. So what comes first, the chicken or the egg?
It's funny. Actually, I studied to be a yoga teacher, not because I wanted to teach yoga, but I just loved yoga and loved the philosophy. And so I thought if I undertook the teacher training, I would just get a deeper understanding. And I even said, no, I don't need to do the business modules. I'm never going to be a teacher, until I did my actual practical exam. And the response that I got from everybody was like, no, you've got to find time to teach. This is amazing. And I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I will. And then they said, but, yoga brings up a lot of emotions, especially if you're holding poses. And, your students may want to come and talk and debrief afterwards, but it's not really ethical because you're not trained. So you probably should refer them on. And I'm like, no, that's the best bit, is talking about everything that comes up. I'll go get trained. So I did.
That is amazing. Oh, what a story. This is what I love talking about with other coaches, because it kind of brings up things for me. And, it makes me realize that when I started out, because I know backstage we were talking about niche, and, a lot of people, especially gifted coaches like yourself, we hate that word because we know there's so much more we can give. And it is a very holistic element. And yet, my story is a little bit similar when I think about it. When I first went into being a practitioner, I wasn't actually going to become a practitioner of neuro-linguistic programming. My husband actually recommended it to me before we were married to clean up my life because I was in such a state. And so I did it for me. And it was in that point that it was like duck to water stuff. And, I realized that they were certifying me as well. So here I am there, loving it, drinking it in, and then being certified. And really, I believe that if we are good at something, like you say, it sounds like a real natural evolution for you. Like, firstly, being in that yoga, holding those poses, being told how it can bring these emotions out, and then hearing that, you need to be certified, and then going from there. So my question is, what do you think it is about being in a position where you're in this beautiful, because I love yoga, I have to tell you, you'd laugh at me if you watched me doing it, but I love it. And so I'd really love to know, what is it about the yoga pose? Like, I know that a lot of the restorative, deliberate holding and, just really tuning into the body. What is it about that releases emotions, do you think?
What I love about it is the fact that, especially hip openers, where we store a lot of tension and emotion. So my theory is that whenever something comes up in your life, a difficulty, a trauma, something that you even need to process, an argument with somebody, if it's not dealt with, we tend to squish it down in the body. And that actually happens a lot because we either don't have the tools to know how to deal with it in the moment, or we live these hectic lives where it's like, I just don't have time for this right now. And instead of putting it in a nice little box and saying, I will deal with this tonight, when I can sit down and journal it out, we just squash it down in the body. And so this is where I personally believe, that you've heard maybe the saying dis-ease. When you have dis-ease in the body, it creates disease, it creates the tension, it creates the back pain, it creates the cancer. And so when you're holding in a pose and you're allowing your body to actually just be and express, suddenly all of this stuff that you've pushed down there physically, like when we push an emotion down, it has to come out somewhere. If it doesn't manifest out through cognitive talking and working things out, then it's going to manifest somewhere in the body. And so through doing yoga, I know that a lot of people do it because they do lead such busy lives. I remember once hearing on the Ellen show that she was a kickboxer and she's a type A personality and she loved that. And they actually said to her, no, if you're such a go-getter and a high achiever and a type A, don't do kickboxing. That's already in your realm. You need to balance yourself out by doing yoga and slowing down the body, slowing down the mind. And so that's what I find so fascinating, is that you get people in here who say, I can't do yoga. I can't stop long enough to do yoga. And it's like, you're the person who needs it the most.
Yes, I love that. Can you talk to us about this type A, type B, and how we know which one we are? And perhaps you can qualify me. I can be your subject.
Yeah. Well, for me, I guess it would be asking questions like, what is important to you in life?
Can I answer?
If you're my subject, what is important to you?
I would love to be. Are you happy for that? Because, let's do a hot seat and show off your skills.
Sure.
Why not? Okay, cool. All right. So can you ask me that question again?
No, it's normally I send my clients a quiz and we work on their values as to what is it that's important in life for you.
Okay. Success. There is no doubt about it. Success.
Okay. And how do you define success?
Sorry, I want to say something because this came to me this morning. There is a prerequisite. So in other words, there is something that is above that. And to me though, it's more of an evolutional thing where it's a natural blessing in my life, but health and the health of my loved ones and, really their longevity and my own health and longevity. That is here. And, that's what I want to happen. And then the success is what I strive.
Gotcha. Okay. And what I find really interesting, because I actually grew up in Canberra, and Canberra has a completely different energy to the Sunshine Coast. And so returning back there for a holiday, I really noticed that, it's a generalization, but people in Canberra define success very differently to people on the Sunshine Coast. So how is it that you define success in your life?
Oh, that's a great question. That's out of the mouth of a great coach. Because it's very generalized, the word success. So somebody did ask me, a client said to me, well, you're saying that you're running a success seminar. What does that mean to you? And I went, that means when you're loving what you do and you're doing what you love. And I believe that for me, it is in my calling, in my work, and just being, totally, epically, uninhibitedly, wildly, unashamedly successful.
See, that's wonderful. Whereas, if I was to post that question to perhaps a very stringent type A personality I was talking to in Canberra, success is money. How much money do you have? How big's your house? What kind of car you drive? It's a very outward display of what success is.
I'm working on those values. I'm still working on that.
And that's not to say that there's anything wrong with that. Everybody can have their very own definition of success, but a lot of people sometimes don't even think about what am I striving for? What is my definition of success? And is that in alignment with what my values are? My values are adventure and connection and fun and growth. I love to learn and grow. But when I go back to Canberra and I put myself in the mindset of the people around me, I go, oh, maybe I'm not a success anymore because I'm not striving for the money and I'm not striving for the business accolades. And then I come back here and I look through a different lens and go, no, I am wildly successful, like you said, because I am living life in complete integrity with what my values are.
Yes, love it.
Yeah. And getting to be a coach, like getting to do this as my job. It's just, I find it magical. And to spend my day, all day, every day, focusing on getting other people to up-level their life in whatever that looks like for them. When I use the word up-level, it might be for somebody to get a promotion and to have, a better job, and no judgment. There is zero judgment in coaching. But another person up-leveling might be wanting that deeper connection with their husband and children.
Sure. I totally get that. And, when I'm going through people's why, I'm actually looking for their mission and which is probably a completely different scenario than type A, type B. So we'll come back to that in a second. But as I'm taking them down, what I find is at the very bottom level where we get to their core, it's something that's happened to them in their life where it's really broken them. And it's like they're stood up and they've done the whole Wonder Woman stance, no deal. I am not going to let this happen anymore. And they become like that person of conviction, like Oprah Winfrey, like the big leaders of the world. So because of that. So that's kind of like how I find people's value system. So tell me more. What other questions would you ask me around knowing my type, or do you already know which type I am?
Oh, no. I would still keep asking questions and be chatting to you through all the different coaching sessions. But so we've got the how do you define yourself as success? And then, other questions are, what kind of things do you love doing?
Okay. I actually love creating. If I'm talking in my leisure life, I would say I actually love music. I love dance. I love personal development. I love anything that really feeds my mind and grows me. I'm obsessed.
Yeah.
And I would say that that's probably what I love. But, I also do what I find that when I am helping people to grow, expand, and rise, and when I'm healing them, that is totally energizing me. Like I've had people say to me, doesn't that kind of like, deplete you, like dealing with people all the time and helping them? I'm like, no way. That's what energizes me.
Yeah, 100%. And do you at all in this kind of work consider yourself to be a perfectionist?
Oh, what a question. There's so many elements about me. I'm a real enigma because, my husband's got a nickname for me, right, before I answer this, and he calls me RSB. Now, it involves a swear word, but I'll just censor the swear word. It's rip, shiz, and bust. And he reckons I just get in there, I just do it, and bam, wham, it happens. And I suppose from my past, I have been an epic failure. Like I've had so many shortcomings and failures through my jobs and school in so many elements that I think I built this resistance. But here's the enigmatic part. and I was just saying this to him, interestingly enough, before our interview. I'm saying that I can see all the things that are not working right now. And I'm actually going, this is not working, and this is not working, and this is not working. I don't want to talk about it publicly because I don't want to offend anyone, but it's because I'm so hell bent on getting it perfect. And, you know, and then, you know, and my husband's a great supporter. So he'll go, well, you need to do something about it. And instead of kind of pulling me away and asking me a coaching question, he sort of jumps in and stokes up the fire. And then I go into coaching mode. It's funny because at that point I stepped back and I went, you know what? I think I'm being a perfectionist. I think I'm expecting too much. And I really feel like I'm not seeing all the things that are working because there's so many grand things happening in my business right now and in my life. But I'm not seeing that, Rebekah. I'm not going, oh, wow, you know, I've got this beautiful brand that is building and I've got this amazing, you know, all these elements that are going on in my life and I'm healthy and my family's healthy. I'm not focusing on that. I'm focusing on all the things that are wrong.
Yeah, it's really funny. I just made a Facebook Live on this because it came up on a TV show. And I love when you get just nuggets of like, yes, remember this from the most random places. The line was a very old sort of fashion line. Speak of the devil and he shall appear. And I just instantly went, oh, thank you for the reminder. Because the more we speak about what's not going right, the more we get what's not going right.
I needed to hear that today, girl. Thank you.
Yeah, and we do that. And it almost became, so two things I was going to say. Back, I think, well, certainly when I was in my schooling, it was almost like this badge of honor to be a perfectionist and that's what I consider like Miss Type A. And I've got my to-do list and I'm diligent and I get it done and I'm an achiever and I strive and everything's done perfectly. And it's like the teachers are all like, big tick, you go. So we were praised for being Type A personalities. And then the other thing as well, what we were just talking about that is when, I don't know whether it is just a woman thing. I don't want to offend any men, but it seemed to be like it was almost this, it's what we did. We got together and we bitched and moaned about our lives. Sorry to swear. But, you know, it's almost like it was this point where I realized one day sitting with people, it's like, is this who can outdo each other with how crap things are going on in our lives? Like, what, are we winning a medal here on who can, yeah.
So true. And, you know, and then plus the saying, I'll never forget this, the bitch will be bitched. I remember hearing that and I'm like, whoa. But I also remember something else. And this is like, you know, one of the things I've always been is just that counselor, that epic ongoing counselor from when I was like 7 years old. And, you know, when I was like before being a practitioner, I used to run these groups for ladies and it was called Storm in a Teacup. Oh my gosh. And, you know, everybody would kind of bring their issues to the table. And then, you know, I was studying a Bachelor of Ministries, so I would pray and, you know, evangelize and do all this great stuff. And they just loved it. I would go away on vacations and really it was just a kind of like a little glimpse of where I was going in my life. And one day a lady came up to me and she said, Terry, I've got a confession. And I went, oh, okay. And she goes, I don't want you to tell anybody this, but she had the most epic stories. Oh my gosh. Her problems, her complaints and her woes were so big that it was almost, you know how you hear the saying, it's too good to be true? Well, this was too bad to be true. It's like, oh my gosh, how can this be happening to you? Like so much. She told me she deliberately did it. She goes, when I get together with all those women, I deliberately just amp up all the stuff and I just say all this stuff and I'm like, okay, that's really interesting. You know, you get to hear and know all these little patterns about people, right? And all the idiosyncrasies from the subconscious. And I said, well, what was the purpose? What do you think is the purpose that you're actually doing that? And she said, I feel like it's going to gain me love connection.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Interesting, huh?
There's always a motive behind everything.
Mm.
And most of the time, as much as, sometimes we can't see it if we're on the receiving end, there's normally a positive motive behind it. So behind her being negative was a positive of, I want to get love and connection. I remember being that in my 20s. I mean, I was really successful at a young age, and I made a lot of money, and I was going on great holidays and building a fantastic dream house. And I remember that was a distance that was starting to grow between friends. And I remember, going to Europe and then going, oh, and I suppose you're staying in a hotel and it's all fancy. And I remember going, oh, but the hotels won't be that good. And like trying to dumb my life down to keep that connection with my friends.
Yeah, the old Australian thing too, the underdog, and everybody supporting the underdog, and so many people feeling afraid to rise. Like, as much as there's a fear of success, it's like, man, maybe there's a subconscious fear with me, but it's certainly not conscious. But then in some people, like I had a coach, like, because I'm dealing with quite self-aware, highly achieving women, and she said to me, it's not failure, that I fear, Terry, it's success. And I'm like, okay, there you go.
It's that beautiful Marianne Williamson quote, which I don't want to butcher here, but it's we're not afraid of our shadow, but we're afraid of how infinitely wonderful that we possibly are.
Oh, that's amazing. I love Marianne Williamson.
I wish I could repeat it verbatim. Yeah, absolutely.
So too. So, okay, do you know which type I am yet?
Oh, I love the word that you used, a bit of an enigma. I think that you're a recovering type A personality.
Okay, tell me about that.
So what I see a lot in my clients is they will come to me as type A's as so super harsh on themselves, never thinking that what they do is good enough, having a to-do list as long as time itself, and then berating themselves for not getting through the to-do list. And then sometimes that can manifest in them being quite harsh on their partners or quite harsh on their kids. And the reason why that's coming out is like they're not even nearly as hard on other people as they are on themselves. And through the work we do together and starting to bring in some self-love and compassion, and, one of the yoga sutras is, yoga is about restraining the fluctuations of the mind. Your mind will tell you stuff all day long, and it doesn't mean that you need to listen to it. So when I teach my clients about that and they learn to be the witness to their thoughts and witness that, how the hell are these thoughts serving me, they become a recovering type A personality, because they then start to bring in some compassion about themselves. And they know that they're achievers, but they start to pull back on, well, exactly how far do I need to achieve? And they start to bring in, what do I love doing, like you said, with what are the things that you actually enjoy bringing into your life, and start to just, I guess, calm down on themselves a little bit.
That is so good. And I think you've hit the nail on the head. Absolutely, 100%. Nothing was ever good enough for me. And I have definitely, really, the self-love is where the recovering. And I think what you've just alluded to, which has really brought light to me, is that maybe now I need to ease up on my expectation of, what's outside of me as well, with other people that may be serving me or helping me or doing those elements, because my expectations are so high. But it's really just keeping it real. And, one of the things that I need to really go back to all the time, and it's the name of this show, it's the name of this podcast, and that is each and every person's zone of genius, their genius zone, because you've got something that I haven't, and the same vice versa. And each and every one of us that have got these pearls and gold nuggets, and this is my passion behind this show too, because someone's going to hear you and they're going to go, wow, I need to learn more about this. I need to do this. And they're going to they're going to reach out to you. And that's what it's about. You know, it's not about attracting the wrong people. And I think there's a lot of coaches that are trying desperately to just attract anyone and everyone. And that is not really what the magic comes when you magnetically show up in front of someone like how you are with me, when you are in front of someone that you just get, that you just totally align with. And that changes everything. But it also, there's a high level of payoff here and a high price to pay, because in doing that, you also polarize. So it almost means that you're polarizing people, and, you know, but the people that you are attracting to yourself, it's almost like my last podcast, I was talking to a woman who is into healing the broken and the wounded, and then she talks about the spiritual and sexual healing side of it as well. And she says, unless we allow ourselves to heal, how can we possibly really meet that right person? And it's better to be, I think, with nobody than the wrong person, maybe, but, you know, to be with that, you know, to have the stars align. I'm not doing anything for her specific zone of genius, but maybe people have already heard that and watched that by now. So now what I'd love to do is give you the stage for about a moment. And I thank you, by the way, for even giving me that gold nugget just in a short time, you know, because I really think you're spot on. Can I just ask you, though, what would it take for me to really like transition, or where would I be best to be in the type A or the type B? And can you recommend anything that I ought to do to kind of help my high expectation woman come back down to reality?
Gotcha. Again, with the no judgment. If being a type A personality works for somebody, then great. But personally, myself and seeing my clients, it quite often leads to burnout. Like we were coming back to the whole yoga thing, the stress of being that high and holding yourself to that higher standard and having all of that striving and achievement and hustle, you know, it comes into the whole masculine, feminine energy. If that isn't you, then you burn yourself out. And I ended up with chronic fatigue and adrenaline fatigue and everything because of myself. Like, I have nobody else to blame but myself. Stress is fighting against what is. And it was my brain constantly fighting against my life. I don't like it. I'm not happy. I'm not, you know, exactly what you were talking about, focusing on nothing but the bad. And so it was learning through yoga, coming into myself, coming into meditation, coming from a Bikram yoga class. If anybody's ever done it, that was the very first yoga that I tried. And that's mirrors. And you're competing with yourself every single time and the people next to you. Coming into then a traditional yoga studio, there's no mirrors. It doesn't matter if your warrior's not perfect. It doesn't matter what the hell it looks like. What matters is how do you feel? And so it's really coming out of the head and into the body. And that's where I love yoga. And that's where I love working with my clients is let's get out of your head. So just because, you know, something has happened in your life, like you need to do some work on your business, it's all about what are your thoughts about it. If your thought is, I love it, I can't wait to get into it, my group's growing so fast, this just energizes me, it's fantastic, then you will feel empowered, and the actions you will take from empowerment will lead towards the result you want, which I'm guessing is like a group of wonderful people who you're helping in the world. But again, if you have things to do in your business and the thought about that is, this is shit, I'm not doing it properly, it's not perfect, I'm not putting anything out, I can't do this, then the feeling you're going to have is really disempowered and not feeling good about it. And my guess is you probably don't even want to show up in your business because it's a form of stress and anger. And it's just like, oh, I can't do this. And the result is your group doesn't grow. So the exact same circumstance, different way of thinking, completely different result in your life.
I love that. That is so good. I trust that there's lots of coaches and talented people out there, high achievers that are really listening to this, because I believe what you just did is you just answered all the questions that I had and just double down on it in like 1 short minute. So thank you so much, Rebekah. I have one more question, and then I'm going to ask you about how obviously people can get in touch with you. I'm curious, do you bring your yoga practice into your life coaching as one? Do you have a program where you've bundled or packaged that up together, or is it 2 separate things, or can you tell me about that?
Sure. That's definitely something I've been thinking about. But at the moment, my life coaching is purely one-on-one, and it is tailored to exactly what the client needs. So I do have some clients who want to work on their spirituality. You know, they've come from a place which I get. You know, I'm half Polish. My family had like holy water that you had to bless yourself with when you walked in their house. And I do not believe in organized religion. So therefore, I'm like, I don't have any spirituality. And that's just not true. I just don't believe in that particular religion. So I had a brand new client today who was saying, one of the things I'd like to work on with you is my spirituality. I don't believe in God, but I believe there must be a connection to something. And then I have another client who has a very high level executive job, and I do a lot of leadership coaching with her. And it's a very gentle approach, because she's like, oh, too much woo, too much of the woo.
I love that. So that's so good. So you meet people really where they're at. Yeah. And I believe that really is just the music of what subconscious coaches like yourself and myself do, where there's just this dance of life of where people come in. It's not a structure. We may have an invisible, organized structure, and I know that I had to work on that, developing the master key, which I'm the founder of that master key. But the reason that I developed that structure is because I was just flowing with where the person was. And so as I was taking them through, I had to bring it into conscious competency almost, because how do people know what I'm doing as a trainer? I might be showing them a pattern where they can break a bad habit, or a pattern where they can harness in their confidence and power, or a pattern where they can go back to even ancestral lineage and totally heal and dissolve their past, right? But what I formed in the Master Key was this beautiful kind of like symphony orchestra of all of the best of the processes woven together in one, which is why I call it the white glove of transformation. And it allows this dance, like you're saying, so that if you do have a client, like you say, that turns up and says, this is what I need, then you can deliver. I love what you've brought to our audience today. And is there, if you had one piece of absolute gold nugget that you could give to the high achievers out there, the women that are, and the men who are perhaps burning themselves out, trying to get it all right, can I ask what would be your solid suggestion?
Oh, I have so many. I'm trying to narrow it down. I'm going to go with meditation. And I'm going to go with the fact that most high achievers will say, can't do it. Just can't do it. I don't meditate. Can't stop my brain. It's not about that. What it's about is bringing mindfulness in. So when you sit down and close your eyes and your brain goes ballistic, offering you 1,000 thoughts at once, that is the work of meditation. But you detach from them, you watch them, and you can use beautiful visualization, like pretending they're like a cloud going past you. You can pretend like they're a car driving past. I pretend that they're a movie screen, and I watch my little
V8 engine, you know, Rebekah.
Sorry?
I think my thoughts have got a V8 engine.
But you watch them, you accept them, you say, I see you, but then you let it zoom past like a V8. And then you wait, the next one's coming. And then that one zooms past. Then you wait, the next one zooms past. And as you build a muscle, it is a muscle. Slowly, you'll start to see that there's actually gaps in between the V8. And that is your golden nugget. That is the moment of stillness and clarity. And when you can get enough gaps, because you're watching them, holy hell, is that life true? Oh, I can't even speak to how wonderful that is.
I love that. You know what I was visualizing? You kind of put me into a trance just then. I'm like literally, I just thought about it when you were saying it, because my daughter says that I'm like the road runner. I get up in the morning and I'm like, go, 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 go. And then I go to sleep and I'm gone, you know, and then I wake up and I'm so even from the moment that I'm awake, I'm like, as soon as you said that, I'm picturing like, if I'm talking a car, I'm talking like a, you know, GT shaker or something that's very fast going past. But then as you were talking, I then got the space, and then along came the Rolls Royce. Now, isn't that divine? Oh, thank you.
It's just that, you know, and I think it's the Dalai Lama who says, I meditate an hour a day, unless I have a really busy day, and then I meditate 2 hours.
Oh, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, because it's the slowing down. And like I said, it's a muscle, and you practice. It's like going to the gym and lifting weights. You have to keep practicing this mindfulness of slowing the brain down. And to me, in those moments of stillness is complete self-love. And that's where you learn to then have compassion for yourself, not be so harsh on yourself, and your whole life starts to change.
I love that. And Anthony Robbins says something very similar too, except he says it that if you haven't got 10 minutes a day to stop, meditate, and switch off and deal with yourself, you haven't got a life. So there you go. Oh, thank you so much. I could talk to you all day. I've loved this conversation. So how on earth can people get to you and find you? One platform, please, and then you can drop all your links in the comments after.
Sure. They can get to me through all of your usual channels. So my company is called The Belief Edit. So I'm on Facebook. I have a Facebook group that you can join. I'm on Instagram. I have a website. All of it is just The Belief Edit, because that's what I believe. It's all about editing those beliefs that you just think are fact. Get rid of them. Your whole life changes.
That is incredible. How clean is that, guys? So I don't think that's going to be too hard for you to find the beautiful Rebekah. Can you stay backstage, and I'll see you in just a moment. And I just want to thank you so much for adding so much value to the audience.
You are welcome. Namaste.
Namaste. What a beautiful, beautiful lady. And, you know, that is, even with myself, sometimes it's just great to be able to bounce off someone who's like-minded and can really put things into perspective. And so as she drops those links, feel free to get in contact. And what I'd like to say to you also is, if you are wanting to tap into your zone of genius, if you are wanting to heal yourself so that you can rise into epic, wild, uninhibited success, then contact me. Who knows, you may end up on this show as well. And I really just wish you the greatest day. And until our show next week, I will see you soon. Bye for now.